Abortion rights became a key issue during the midterms after the United States Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade back in June. Last night, the issue literally on the ballot in 5 states, Vermont among them, Michigan among them. Hillary Johnstone is with us this morning, and she's taking a look at how that issue drove some people to the ballot box and how it turned out. Good morning, Hillary.
Good morning, Heather. Well, of course, we knew going into the midterm elections that inflation, of course, was something that voters were keeping top of mind, but abortion was the other big issue. Of course, all of this coming just a couple of months, about 6 months after the U.S. Supreme Court overturned more than 50 years of precedent that had guaranteed rights to abortion, kicked it back to the states. And as you say, we heard from some of those states last night with their decision on how they are going to proceed. So let's start with the state of Vermont. A couple key states here that, of course, border Canada, states that we had been watching to see what was going to happen, whether or not we might see an influx of Americans in those states coming to Canada seeking access to some of those reproductive rights. But if we start with Vermont, voters there overwhelmingly backing abortion rights proposals. 77% of voters approved this measure, which will protect abortion rights within the state constitution. 22.5% voted against it. As you say, this was on the ballot in other states. Let's take a look at Michigan. That was another state where the governor, Gretchen Whitmer, of course, really sort of staged her re-election campaign on abortion rights. Well, Michigan has now voted to protect abortion rights, overriding a law that dates back to 1931 that would have put a definitive end to abortion rights in that state. So that's another key one that we have been watching as well, along with Vermont. Also want to take some time here to speak about California, because California is going to become a bit of a sanctuary now when we're talking about abortion rights within the United States, because they have also backed abortion rights in that state, making sure that it is protected within that state constitution. Something really key about what happened in California last night, Heather, is the fact that the word viable will no longer be in the law in that state. Up until this point, there had been abortion rights in California, but there was language around the viability of the fetus. That is no longer going to be in there. So a couple key states voting last night, as you say, all of this coming some 6 months after the overturning of Roe v. Wade.
So if we look at what happened in Vermont and in Michigan, Hillary, we have to look as well at the other side, because certainly not all states voted to protect abortion rights.
Right, and one that we're watching in particular right now is the state of Montana, because voters in that state were asked to vote on something called the so-called Born Alive law. And what this is, Heather, is that it would enact a law making any infant born at any age, any gestational age, a legal person. So a protection that already does exist under some federal laws passed more than 2 decades ago, but it would criminalize healthcare providers who do not make every effort to save the life of an infant born during an attempted abortion, or born during regular labor, or during a C-section as well. It would also make it so that healthcare providers as well would really have would need to make sure that they are doing everything they can to ensure that an infant who is born is protected. So that is something that we are still waiting results on. Also want to quickly mention Kentucky here, because this is the first state in the South to vote on some of these abortion rights. Of course, it's the home state of Republican Mitch McConnell. At this point, it would seem that they've actually rejected a proposal that would have banned abortion, but a couple really key states that we're going to be watching.